you could hear a bit of a sigh of relief here in the trading hall today when the numbers came out. And I guess that also in Berlin, in our capital here in Germany, people in the government will be quite relieved, because the talk of a potential bailout of Deutsche Bank has now calmed down somewhat. Still, the problems for the bank are not over. Despite the fact that Deutsche Bank increased the amount of money it set aside for its legal risks, most analysts are convinced that the amount will not be enough. And it's very high. It's 5.9 billion euros now. But, you know, the one legal case in the United States where the Department of Justice in the US wants to put a fine on Deutsche Bank because of Deutsche's sales of mortgage-backed securities many years ago, the amount that Deutsche is estimated to pay there is at least a couple of billion euros. And if we take into consideration that Deutsche Bank has 7,000 class actions and litigations cases standing out worldwide, it is quite obvious that the amount that the bank has set aside so far will not be enough to pay for all of this.
Sadly, though. Now, the UK economy grew faster than expected in the 3 months before the Brexit vote. That's according to figures, official figures, and that indicates that was actually helped by strong service sector growth. The economy expanded by 0.5% in the third quarter. Now, how is this impacting on the markets?
It's having a positive impact on the markets in general. It's giving the pound sterling a bit of a boost today, because it indicates that the negative surprise of the Brexit referendum did not have an immediate negative effect on the economy in the UK. Still, most economists are convinced that this negative effect will eventually come. During the summer quarter, investments in capital goods already have slowed down, so it's quite likely, the money that you invest now means that in the future you will be able to do profits. So a slowdown of investments means that when manufacturing, for example, in the UK, there will be lower profits eventually. Also, consumers have been spending more over the summer. It's a bit like after the referendum, they were even getting more enthusiastic spending money in the shops in the UK. But inflation is rising. Prices have been rising in the UK, and this is expected to continue. So eventually the consumers in the UK will have less spending power, and this also will show in future growth rates.
Now, elsewhere in Europe, there have been some developments in the banking sector. Barclays is reporting a 35% rise in pre-tax profits for its third quarter. Of course, the UK government says that it is reducing its stake in Lloyds Bank to less than 9%. And we have, on the macroeconomic level...
Well, Bulaji, it's good that you're mentioning the Swedish negative repo rate, because it reminds us that when we're talking about the banks here in Europe, we have to always remember that, at least in parts of Europe, they're operating in an environment of negative interest rates. The Swedish repo rate is only one example for this. So it's very difficult for banks to simply get on and simply continue with their old business models, which of course relied on positive interest rates. In the case of Barclays and Lloyds, it's important to keep in mind that both also have to deal with problems of misconduct in the face of their clients in the past. They both are facing relatively high amounts of litigation cases. Barclays, for example, just like Deutsche Bank, is having a fight with the Department of Justice in the US for comparable behavior. So it's good news that the banks managed to increase earnings and profits and activity in parts of their businesses, but the concerns how all these litigation cases will eventually turn out and how this will weigh on their businesses has not been going away. So there's good and bad to be taken into consideration here.
Thank you so much, Konrad Busen, DWTV financial correspondent, reporting out of Frankfurt. And Saudi Arabia and the Gulf Cooperation countries have begun fiscal adjustment, with the government containing expenditures and raising additional revenues in response to low oil prices. Now, this is contained in the report released by the International Monetary Fund after a meeting between the Managing Director, Ms. Christine Lagarde, and member countries in the region. The report shows that the countries have also been implementing impressive reforms over the past year in response to the decline in oil prices. Continued fiscal adjustment will be needed over the medium term. The country should phase in deficit reduction measures gradually while strengthening the medium-term fiscal frameworks and fiscal transparency to support the adjustment. Policies to support growth and employment will also need to continue. Okay, let's get some update from the interbank foreign exchange market for today's currency trading. We hope we can talk to Diana Egolu, who is a forex dealer with Sterling Bank, in a minute or two before we go on a break. Diana?
Hello.
Good afternoon. It's great to have you on the program. Quickly tell us
Good afternoon.
How is the Naira trading currently against other international currencies?
Yes, today the central bank intervened at 305.
Okay,
Hello?
so I can hear you. Go on.
305 to the dollar in the market today. And then yesterday, you know, that one of the FX features matured of about $270 million. The central bank was able to settle the futures at 317.50.
All right. So how do you think the difference between the parallel... I was going to ask you... Okay, go ahead, please.
I said the parallel market is at about 460, 470.
Okay.
But the interbank market is at 305 Naira to the dollar.
All right, so we still have some disparity there. Thank you so much, Diana Egolu. We hope to have you back some other time to talk to us about the forex market. Diana is a forex dealer with Sterling Bank. We'll go on a break. I will be right back.